All right, former President Barack Obama was back at the White House today for the first time since 2017. Take a listen.
Coming back here gives me a chance to say thank you and spend some time with an extraordinary friend and partner who was by my side for 8 years. And Joe Biden and I did a lot together.
Mr. President, welcome back to the White House, man. Feels like the good old days.
All right, he was officially there to celebrate the Affordable Care Act and help President Biden announce new steps to advance Obamacare. But Democrats are hoping the former president, who was very popular with his own party, will help give the struggling current president a boost. Joining us today is our company, Red Renaissance PAC president, Kim Klacik, and the host of the Grace Curley Show and columnist for the Boston Herald, Grace Curley. Ladies, good to see you. Grace, you know, if you look at poll after poll, Biden's numbers are sinking. Political Playbook today had a feature story on two focus groups that their authors were with or witnessed that talked about how Biden is struggling with black voters and millennials, two groups that Obama actually was very popular with. So do you think that Obama's visit today was just about celebrating Obamacare, or was it more about trying to reassociate Biden with a very popular person in his party?
Oh, this was 100% a photo op opportunity. I think this is a Hail Mary, and I think it's the first of many as we go into November. I mean, this is just an attempt to distract from all of the disasters and hope that maybe Obama can charm the voters into forgetting what a disaster Joe Biden's presidency has been. And I don't think it's going to work. And keep in mind, he's out there talking about the good old days. Obama didn't endorse Joe Biden until he was the last man standing. So even that part of it rings hollow. I think it's really desperate, and I think it's just the beginning of the desperation for Democrats.
You know, Kim, it's interesting because we are now, a year and almost a half or so into the Biden administration. Obama hadn't been back to the White House in 5 years. He had done a good job of sort of staying in the shadows to let Biden have his due. But I kind of get the sense as we head into the midterms, they're pulling him back into the ring and saying, hey, we need to put the popular guy out there and make him go out and campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with Grace. I think, his appearance today does ring hollow. For him to not have been back at the White House since 2017 speaks volumes. We also noticed that President Joe Biden was not at President Obama's birthday bash back in last August. And so I do believe that they're going to try to roll President Obama out more. If you noticed, Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State, she's been mentioning this administration a lot more as well as she goes touring around and talking to the press. And so, yes, they're going to try to bring out more people that are popular so that President Biden looks good heading into November for the midterms. But at the end of the day, I think this is too far gone. I know President Obama made a joke about saying that there's things that have changed since he's been at the White House, but he didn't mention the things that everybody else noticed has changed, which is inflation, gas prices, the trucking shortage, things that have gone on with the pandemic. And so I think, yes, they're going to continue to bring him out, and we'll see the next character that they bring as well.
You know, Grace, we talk a lot on the show about big tech and censorship and things like that. We got a big shock this week when Elon Musk took a 9.2% stake in Twitter and then just today got a seat on the board seat on that platform. He tweeted out earlier that asking users whether or not there should be an edit button. It's a poll question. The poll closes tonight, by the way, if you still want to vote. He's been a big critic of Twitter's censorship of free speech in the past. And I think there's a lot of question out there whether Elon Musk is now going to make changes at Twitter. What do you think is in store for Twitter?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. Obviously, I don't think anyone is, but I'm really hopeful. I mean, Elon Musk, you can say what you want about him. He's a free thinker. He's a genius. And I think it's awesome. I think Twitter is very censorship hungry. And Elon Musk, he's been on with the Babylon Bee podcast. He seems to be very pro free speech. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And I want to weigh in on the edit button because I kind of don't think they should have an edit button. I like the high stakes that if you put out a tweet, you have to double check it. And if you make a mistake, you have to delete it. I'm on board with that. So I'm voting no.
Oh, that's interesting. Kim, what do you think? I want to just get your take on that edit button, because Instagram allows you to edit, but it's noted. It says you edited this. First and foremost, where do you come down on the edit button?
I know, it's interesting. I think if it noted that it was edited, that's great. But I'm kind of with Grace on this one, because there are a lot of people, I'm sure, that would like to go back and mop up their messes. But when it comes to Twitter, that screenshot lasts forever. And I do believe that people should have to apologize if they did offend somebody too much. Now, obviously, we're apologizing a lot these days for no reason. But I love the fact that Elon Musk has now a seat on the board. I hope that he reinstates people like President Trump and other conservatives that were censored for no reason, especially those that were censored for talking about Hunter Biden's laptop.
You know, Grace, Kim brings up President Trump getting back on the platform, right? That's interesting. It's come up a lot. But think about this. Since he was banned, you've got the sort of the evolution of Parler, Getter, Truth Social, right? So out of the banning has come a lot of new products, new things, new platforms. If that were to change, I mean, what would that do to those new products?
I'm a big fan of trying to change Twitter itself and not have any of these new products. I mean, I so support people attempting, and I do think conservatives need to make more of their own things and have more of their own platforms. But we've had a lot of examples of these that have really struggled, and none of them have really taken off the way Twitter has. I do think Twitter is here to stay. It pains me to say that. I wish I was wrong. But because it's here to stay and because it's really where people get their news, I think it's important that we try to make it better, because it doesn't seem like it's going away, and we should allow people from the New York Post, we should allow people from the Babylon Bee to tweet things out without fear of being banned. And I totally agree. Bring back Trump. I think when he tweeted out that edit button poll question, he got a lot more responses about bringing back Donald Trump than he probably thought he would.
Kim, I only have like 15 seconds, but if Twitter were to change, would you stay on the other platforms?
Yes, I would still stay on the other platforms. But, like Grace says, it's like speaking into an echo chamber sometimes, right? You got to be able to speak to people that you don't normally agree with.